The 21st century is the era of globalization, digital technology, and artificial intelligence. There are no longer boundaries among countries, cultures, and societies. In the world today, modern citizens are no longer identified as being part of any individual country, but on a global scale, which means they can travel, live and work wherever they want and enable their international career paths. To adapt to the new world, the young generation must strive their best to learn and develop a global-oriented mindset. Accordingly, investing in children's education from an early age is something that parents need to pay attention to. As the first global citizen training program in Vietnam, QT's mission is to help children aged 8-15 develop comprehensively in terms of English, skills, knowledge, and be equipped to study and live in their favorable countries. The English curriculum is designed based on the common European framework of reference for languages, which is popular all over the world, to help children develop their 4 English skills. They can easily get high marks in class and be confident in their language exams such as IELTS, TOEFL, and TOEIC. Children can communicate with native teachers by using a modern learning system, creating a friendly communicative environment at all times for everyday practices to be proficient in English. The 21st century skill set is systematized based on the frameworks for 21st century learning, conveys the process of training and practical learning activities such as summaries, projects, and presentations to children. International knowledge comes to children through a wide range of topics and learning materials. They help children understand and be aware of other countries' cultures, integrated thinking, globalizing trends, and gradually become a global citizen. Your child's learning outcomes after completing the program are the opportunities to go out into the world. QTs can guarantee that children will be capable of studying abroad right from high school or attending international schools in Vietnam, enrolling in advanced academic programs such as QTS Diploma, thereby opening the door to study abroad at the top universities in Australia, the USA. Proud to be the educational bridge between Australian professors and Vietnamese learners, QTs makes parents feel secure by its rigorous and scientific training solutions, and the guarantee of specific and firm outcomes. QTs creating global citizen. Choose a global future for your child.
For 120 years, Moreton Bay College has encouraged girls to be the best they can be. Welcome, I'm Janet Stewart, Principal of Moreton Bay College. Girls' education is a specialised field, and our carefully chosen staff tailor their classes specifically to the way girls learn, develop, and communicate.
Girls don't hold back in an all-girls environment. There are enormous opportunities for girls to take part in co-curricular in sport, academics, cultural, and service to others. The International Baccalaureate, the Primary Years Program, or the PYP, helps us to support our learners through an inquiry-based program.
I feel that I've been able to thrive and flourish as a leader, a student, an athlete, and a mature, independent young woman ready for life beyond MBC.
Our balance between academic growth, student wellbeing and co-curricular opportunities are present every day. Our academic, pastoral and co-curricular leaders hope to inspire the girls to have courage, to have hope and to be change makers for the future. That's why I love Moreton Bay.
Our supportive learning environment inspires inquiring minds, integrity, initiative and a genuine care and compassion for others.
Moreton Bay College really fosters inclusivity between different year levels. It allows younger students to view the older students as the embodiment of all the possibilities that Moreton Bay College provides.
The older students in secondary are always there to help and they're all really welcoming. It's more like a family because you know everyone.
And you'll always be accepted for who you are.
Yeah.
Whether our girls want to be actors, astronauts or accountants, they need to know that nothing can stand in their way, and we send that message to our girls every single day.
I've greatly valued the past 6 years I've had here at Moreton Bay College. I will never forget my time here because once a Bay girl, always a Bay girl.
Hello and warm welcome to our live stream Innovation in Global Education. Go backward in the right way for your child to succeed. If you have any question, please type them in the chat box under the live stream. We will bring it up at the end. So now, without further delay, we'll turn into our topic today of discovering the strange but successful element of international education and advice for Vietnamese parents to help your children be more successful. So be enlightened us about this topic and come up with a solution. We have our expert speaker, Mr. Michael Boss, the Director of International Recruitment at Moreton Bay College. He has more than 20 years of experience in education, and he has held teaching and leadership role in Australia and overseas in private education, such as early college, university, and school. So please welcome Mr. Michael.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. And we also have a secret famous person in education as a guest today. So he will come after and I will introduce you guys after. So let's move to the first part. Discover the key paradoxical that opened the door to outstanding success in education in developed countries. With many years of experience in the field of international education, can you share what is an educational measure that has received mixed opinion but caused people to change their perspective on it later? Michael?
Thank you very much for the question, Jackie, and that's a wonderful question because many innovations in the beginning are often not well received, and it's not until later that people realize that those innovations were a good idea. And I can think of a few examples of this specifically, starting with the curriculum. In Australia, and I'm sure in Vietnam, the government often decides the way the curriculum, the way things should be taught. And in the beginning, there's often a lot of negativity towards the new curriculum, what the curriculum looks like, whether it's the right thing. But after a few years, when people become used to the new curriculum, they realize what the benefits are, all of the research that might have gone into it. And I guess really they start to adopt and become real champions for the curriculum as well. So the curriculum is one example of that. A second example is standardized testing. And we know that standardized testing is often not well received. And standardized testing really is a way to be able to measure lots and lots of students and to have a system to be able to get them to university or to measure them against each other. And we use this a lot in schools and universities, these standardized testing systems. Certainly in Australia, we changed our system a few years ago and, it wasn't well received. But I think as the years have gone by, people realize, again, the research that has gone into the standardized system and how it does actually benefit all students and all people in that education system. And the third thing I would say, and this is probably an obvious one, is technology. And technology includes lots of different things, computers, but even at the very beginning, technology might have been a data projector or a whiteboard. Those are examples of technology. And I think in the beginning, there's often a lot of resistance to technology, but as people get used to those types of technology, they can then see the benefits, use them better, and develop their learning a lot better as well. So there are three examples of how I've seen, some negativity and mixed opinions change over time as people have adjusted and understood the purpose of I guess, curriculum, standardized testing, and technology.
So using the internet in learning is the first thing. I agree that many Vietnamese parents used to not like this very much, but recently they have more positive view. What about the second thing, Mike?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, when we're talking about developing education, the internet is certainly, and technology is certainly one thing. When we're talking about education, we're looking at developing the whole student. And when we develop the whole student, we're looking at character development, not just their academic development. So that's one part. We're looking at helping students to be autonomous learners. We want them to be able to study, learn by themselves, and then be able to share that knowledge with others. And we want people to have 21st century skills. And those sorts of things are things that are not, you know, maths, science taught that way, but they're things to be able to cope in the 21st century in the modern world. So those are some really good examples. We want people to be critical thinkers. That means, and particularly for the internet, when you're doing research on the internet, you don't just believe everything that you see and everything that you read on the internet. You have to be a critical thinker. You need to know what is true information, what is false information. You have to be able to discern all of that different type of information that's there. And so we help to, I guess, teach and instill those types of critical thinking skills in our students. We also want increased engagement. We want students to be able to engage not just in the classroom, but in society as well. And so how can we support students as they're looking to engage better and more in the society that they're going to have jobs in and the society that they're going to live in? So moving from technology, there's lots of other areas that we can develop and focus on to really develop skills for students.
I agree with you that if anyone has not researched carefully, they will think that students play more than they study. But in fact, this is a very effective way of learning, and many parents in Vietnam some way and somehow have objections, but there are also many parents want their kids to be trained this way. And what about the third things, Michael?
Yeah, I think you know, the final thing would be probably around giving students the right tools for learning. And when I talk about the right tools for learning, we want to tailor our learning for students, but we want our students to have a voice. And so, you know, that comes through good curriculum design. So when we design our curriculum, we want to make sure that it enables the students to have, you know, good access to learning and to be able to apply those skills as well. And we have a framework at school where we can do that. So we give students what's called agency. You know, it gives them a voice, gives them choice, gives them ownership. We also have collaboration. That's communicating, cooperating, and contributing together. Agility, that means change. Students being able to change, be open-minded, adaptable, and resilient. They're key elements for student learning. And curiosity, of course. We want students to think about what is possible, what else, what if. We want them to ask those questions. And then finally, we want them to reflect on their study. They need to get feedback. They need to grow and they need to progress. And by reflecting on their learning, they can do those sorts of things.
This fact is very unexpected. So after going through the three analyses, can you tell me that by applying this special factor, how have students in the world changed and succeed?
Yeah, so, you know, what we've seen, and I think this is really clear, is that we're developing 21st century citizens. And these are the people that are making change in the world now. They're changing the way society looks. They're changing what our world looks like, and they're influencing government, business, and all forms of work of the workplace. Leaders, so we know that our students coming out of school are leading in different professions. We're seeing them go through different pathways, whether it's pathways at school, whether it's pathways through university, workforce pathways. We're finding them travel through those different pathways. And then finally, we're finding them, that we're understanding that they're finding solutions. You know, there's a lot of problems in the world, and our students are asking the questions and they're finding the solutions. And that's a really important part of their journey, not just at school, but then after school, at university, in the workforce, and in their lives. And so those are the things that we're seeing, the success factors in our students.
Talking about the momentum of success, I am also quite proud of and want to share that Vietnamese students are also becoming more and more dynamic and talented. And even at young age, they are success that many people wish for to be success like them. For example, at QTS, we have some of our students who enter into the second year of university as only 17. That's only happened in Australia or in some developed country when they jump over the age. But in QTS here, we can have some students like that. And Vietnamese students nowadays, they wish to be quick learning and a solution to study at their best. And also, gender is no longer a divide in learning and success opportunity. Therefore, more and more women are recognized inside males specific industry. Do you see this in Vietnamese students that you know, and what do you think are the factors that affect the change in Vietnamese students?
Yeah, so look, I've seen a lot of Vietnamese students over the years, and certainly I've noticed with Vietnamese students that they've had more exposure through the internet, through globalization, to the world generally. And with that greater exposure, they're getting a lot more ideas and a lot more understanding, and they're contributing to the world in a greater way. What we're also seeing is that Vietnamese students are traveling overseas for education as well. We're seeing not only that they study in their own countries, but they're studying in countries like Australia and getting a greater understanding of global education. And we also see that they're freely accessing knowledge, and that's, you know, through the internet or other means, but they're doing that through school, through the internet, and different ways. And what I am seeing a big shift towards, and this is all over the world, is that sustainability and the 17 sustainable development goals that have been set. We're seeing a lot of people work towards those to make the world a much better place. And that includes a lot of the Vietnamese students that I come across. And so I think that's a wonderful way that globalization, the internet, and education are working together to make the world a better place.
Thank you for that. So in general, can you draw conclusion about the main factor that help students succeed in the future, and what the way for Vietnamese students to develop even more?
I think finally it's about good education, you know, and I've touched on that briefly. We've talked about good education. We've talked about the internet and globalization, but I think having international experiences help with that. So whether it's a short term or long term, but having that international experience is really going to help students. They need to learn how to think well, because when you can think well, then you can make good decisions. And to be able to do that, you need good habits. You need to be organized, have good routines, have a healthy lifestyle, learn how to collaborate with others, ask questions and find solutions. And I think with all of those keys, they should be able to unlock the doors to success.
Thank you for the useful information, Mr. Michael. he has shared in the last sections that all the useful informations for us and for Vietnamese parents and also the student. And the next, welcome to Mr. Richard Henry, the principal of Moreton Bay College, and he's have more than 30 years in education sector, and also he's the 31st ranking in international fluency in education. So please welcome Mr. Richard.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have gone through sections exploring the different factors in education and growth rate of Vietnamese and international students. Now, many Vietnamese parents are gradually wanting to explore more closely what they once disagree with an international education, but have now changed their mind, especially after the COVID pandemic. So first of all, I would like to give advice to parents that to let their kids continue to practice and online learning, even though the COVID situation is temporarily stable. But we don't really know it's going to happen again. Australia going to close their border and students cannot travel there to study, and they have to study online through some international platforms online. And also Vietnam too, they might close their border, and we cannot travel as well. And beside that, I think Vietnamese students face more challenge because foreign look like Australian friends, they have lived in the developed environment, they speak very good English, and Vietnamese students need to master their international language with a good habit of learning reading and also the online skill as well to study themselves to back it up. And I suggest that the short tour about 10 weeks for Vietnamese students, for people who in student who in secondary high school in Vietnam here, they can join a short tour to experience the international environment at MBC, and they can also join the QTS program, which is online to study English online to pack it up even more good before they travel to do the 10-week or the short tour to MBC to study about the culture and education system in Australia. Also, in addition, do you have any unique element which are applying at your school that you can give advice, guide to Vietnamese parents? Mr. Henry, please.
Yeah, so to give you some background of my experience, and therefore the answer that I'll give you is based on that experience. It's 34 years now in education, so I'm an old man, and 21 of those years I've spent living overseas. So Jakarta, Indonesia, I was there for 11 years, 4 years in The Hague in the Netherlands, 2 years in Washington, DC, in the USA, a short time back in the Netherlands, and then the last 5 years in Singapore. So 16 of those 21 years was in Asia, and I know very much the impact of studying English in an English environment as opposed to studying English in a non-English environment. And the development of the language skills is much faster, but it's not just the language skills, it's also the nuances of what comes with that language, because after all, language is the window to culture. Yeah. And being able to understand and appreciate other cultures, you're able to do that through language. I worked for the International Baccalaureate for 6 years, the IB, and that's very much at the heart, the ethos of the IB is having people learn about other cultures through the development of a second language. And international education enables that. I also think there's another ingredient that you don't get if you're learning online, and that is the socialization aspect, the development of the individual. I speaking last year with a person called Tony Little. He was the head of Eton College for about 12 years. And Tony said that the pandemic has taught us one thing, and that is that academics is not the most important thing in schooling, even though we've moved that way over a long time. It's actually the development of social skills, learning to be a human being. That face-to-face interaction in schools is so vitally important. So we've learned those things as a result of COVID-19. Will the borders close again? I have no idea. No one does. It's highly unlikely, though. I think governments around the world are aware that this has been terribly difficult and a major strain has been put on the financial circumstances of many countries. And so opening up borders is incredibly important. Moving that whole issue of businesses and the opportunities for people to engage and do that global trade is very important. In addition to that, the reason why the borders were closed, of course, was to help reduce the strain on healthcare systems. And now that we have many, many people vaccinated, that we're really living with the virus as opposed to preventing the virus, that's a major shift globally. And so unless, and let's hope that doesn't happen, unless there's a new variant that is quite different to what we're currently experiencing, I don't foresee there being any major reversal to where we were 18 months ago. Let's hope that's not the case anyway. So in terms of experiencing something, an education here at Moreton Bay College, it's very much for me, that's the best way for students from Vietnam to learn. It's in location, it's being with the students and the teaching faculty in person, because it's not just about learning English and not just about having a short experience of another culture, it's living that experience. That's very, very important. And hence why I'm talking about my own personal experience. I have a deep and strong connection with Asia because I lived there for so long and learned that it's my way of thinking is not the only way of thinking. And for children today, my belief is because we are so globally connected now, it's one of the greatest skills we can give our children is to help them understand that not everyone thinks the same way. Our cultures are different, respecting those cultures and trying to understand those cultures, that's actually an incredibly important and valuable skill to give our children.
Thank you very much for your answer, Mr. Henry. And now we move to the Q&A, the question from audience. So I'll just have some of the selected questions now, because we got a lot of questions. We only have time for only about 4, 5, 6 questions. All right, the first question from Hoang Anh Nguyen. He asked, the summer holiday is coming, and this audience want to know more about the shortfall for secondary school. Can you share more about that in details for this program, please? Thank you.
Yes, of course. I can share more information about that. We have a range of short-term programs as well as long-term programs at the Moreton Bay Colleges. They can start from 1 week and then they can stay up to 5 years if they wanted to on a 5-year visa. But short-term programs, 1 week, 2 weeks, that kind of program is common. And in that program, they will receive English language tuition. They'll have an experience of the local area. So we'll do some excursions into the local area. They'll have an experience in the Australian classroom. So they'll meet maybe some Australian students and teachers. And finally, they'll have an experience in an Australian home. And all of those experiences will help to give them a greater understanding of Australian culture and, again, help them to become global citizens and greater global citizens.
All right. Thank you for your answer. I hope this helps this audience out. Okay, for the next question. My child is not good at English. Can he enter into Moreton Bay College? Or is there any English program that's suitable for him to improve his English before travel to Australia to Moreton Bay College? So for this one, myself, the first part for QTS.
QTS, yes, of course.
Yep. For English course, if your child very low in English grades, we can help you out. So for the only short term of online training, and we can train up to similar to 5 point in IELTS, for example. So you can qualify to travel to Moreton Bay, and I think the entry test there, you will qualify for Moreton Bay. So Michael, please add up for more.
Yes, of course, Jackie. And yes, we wholeheartedly endorse and support what QTS do in their language training. And we partner with them. And thank you, QTS, for today as well. But yes, there are some English language requirements for longer term study. And we look at different IELTS scores depending on what the grade is. But even there's some other tests that you can do, and QTS can steer you in the right direction for that. It is about having a good experience, and having no English wouldn't be a positive experience. You need to have a level of English where you can communicate and enjoy the experience. And so we would encourage all students before they come to Australia, spend some time studying some English, increase your levels, do that through QTS, and then come across to us and maximise that experience that you have.
Thank you for the answer. Move to the next question. In Vietnam, from Kelly Nguyen. In Vietnam, parents are not familiar with single-sex school, boys' school only or girls' school only, and students get used to with the mixed school usually. So if the student come to Moreton Bay, is that easy for student to adapt and join to the school easily? How on it? And can you share more about it?
It's a good question. My wife is Dutch. She's from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And when we came here, her first question was the same one. Because in the Netherlands, they also not used to having single-sex education. Mm. And at first, I thought, wow, yeah, that's going to be very tricky. But now that I've been here for 7 months, I see that we actually have the best of both worlds at Moreton Bay College. The reason being, we have an all-boys school and we have an all-girls school that are very close to each other. And we have then a lot of activities where the boys and the girls do things together. So we have the co-educational experience. Various sports like sailing, mountain biking. We have debating, we have musicals, we have dance, the orchestra. A lot of our co-curricular experiences are co-educational. In addition to that, we also have some classes in which we have a diploma of business management, diploma of project management. Those classes are done co-educationally. Our primary years students this year will be doing the PYP exhibition. They're going sharing that experience across the boys and the girls. So there's actually, we're quite unique. I only know of one other school in the world that has a similar setup, and we're very fortunate that we can have the best of both worlds. We can have a single-sex education, but a co-educational experience. In terms of adapting, if it's a girl, for instance, coming here and being in the Moreton Bay College girls' school, I think that would be a very quick adaptation. If anything, what I've been told by the students that are new here, they absolutely love the experience and the opportunity in which they can focus on what they're here for, and that is to learn, and rather than the distraction of boys, particularly in middle school. And there's a lot of research to back that up, that girls and boys do better in middle school education when it's single sex. So I believe we have the best of both worlds here. It's a unique, very, very unique setup that we have.
I hope answer from Mr. Richard can have Carolyn UN. All right, thank you for that. So we move to the last questions, and the rest of the question list we will answer it, and we will post it in the live stream after for the audience to find it themselves. It's easier. So for the last questions, this person quite long. So this person said that many parents choose for their children to study at international school in Vietnam instead of travel to overseas to study at Moreton Bay or any education institution there, because they scared of the different culture, lack of family care for their children, and all this will affect to the teenage student. Please share about that, and how does Moreton Bay College cover all of this issue that might happen to our teenage student in the future? Please share your help. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I have 3 children. One's 28 years old, one is 26, and one is 2. And the 2-year-old girl, I'm probably more protective of than the boys. The 2 older ones are boys. Yeah. And so I can appreciate that question. I was living overseas when my boys were growing up. I think it's the first question a parent always asks, no matter where you're from in the world, is, will they be safe? And of course, there's always going to be any risk, no matter where you are in the world. I'll answer it this way, because the school I worked at in Indonesia was an international school with predominantly Indonesian students. So it was an international curriculum at Indonesian students. They were learning in English. What tended to happen, though, was that the students would always revert to their mother tongue, their native language, being Indonesian, which is natural, and we didn't try and stop that. They also were talking about their local culture, the local happenings, what's on the news, what's in the social life of Indonesia. And so there was very little exposure to other cultures. And I know that the parents were concerned, these are Indonesian parents, that we were helping them develop their English language skills, which did happen, not as quickly as they would have liked, but also were they really experiencing an international education? Now, when I was working in Singapore, it was a very international school. There were no Singaporean students in the school. We had students from 60 different countries. And so it was very much a truly United Nations in one school. And many of the schools there are like that. But Singapore is unique. Most international schools around the world are not truly international in terms of the cohorts of students. And as I said, once they step outside of that school, it's that local culture or even the national culture that they're going to experience. So if students are in Vietnam and they're in an international school, yes, they will have some exposure to an international life, but it won't be the same rich opportunity that they would have if they were here in Australia, for example. And I'm definitely not trying to be biased with saying that. It's just my own personal experience. As I said, I've lived in Asia for 16 years. I have seen a lot of students in that time developing in their language skills. I did spend quite a lot of time in Vietnam. Hoi An, by the way, is one of my favorite places in the world, actually. I absolutely love Hoi An. And I'm looking it up. It's the Ben Thanh market in Ho Chi Minh. Love that place. Hopefully I'll get over to see you all sometime soon and visit there again. And for me, it's those experiences that I personally went through. That was my education. It's not just about working in a school or a student going to a school. It's the actual experiences outside the school. That's what brings the richness. That's what brings the learning of the identity. And just one final thing there I'll say is I learnt more about myself when I lived overseas than anything else. Because when you're put in a position where you're not comfortable, it's not the normal, then suddenly you're learning about what's important, who you are as an individual and what your values are. That's what you learn from an experience from living overseas.
I could add more information for these questions because myself, once upon a time, I was traveled to Australia to study there. So I was studying in public school in Australia, and I know very well its education there from the mixed school compared to single sex school. The single sex school, for example, Moreton Bay or some Catholic school, they focus on talent. They focus on the skill. The student, if that student like music, he will be discover his limit in the music subjects, and also math and sport as well. So, as you said, a student in Vietnam to attend international school in Vietnam instead of travel to Australia, if it's my kids, I would choose to put them in Australia so they can explore their capacity of learning and their skill to live by themselves in the world, in anywhere in the world, even in America or in UK. Yes. So I hope these questions help the audience quite long. Great. All right. It's now time up, and I think that's enough for today live stream. And thank you for this two guests, two famous guests in education with a lot of experience, well, more than 30 years of experience in educations. And I hope all the information today is be useful to the audience and Vietnamese parents and Vietnamese students as well. And once again, thank you, Mr. Michael Boss and Mr. Richard Henry. And I will see you soon, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.